Hi everyone, and welcome to the Whitman Think Tank. I'm here today with my friend Justin.
Hello.
We just started our think tank. Last summer I started it as a way to attract people to sort of join and become more active in advocacy, and maybe try to figure out some of the things that we, as citizens of this area, want to work on, things we think are exactly right the way they are, but things that we'd like to change if we see them, or improve, and try to find out what people to look for when you want to solve a problem like that. Hopefully people will learn things about when to go to the selectmen, when to take something to town meeting, and kind of help them learn the process so that it becomes something that's easy for them to do.
All right.
I'm
Thanks,
just
Erin.
wondering. Okay.
Yeah. So I first learned about the Whitman Think Tank in an article in the Express. I believe Erin wrote it.
Yeah, I did.
And then found them on Facebook and attended the next meeting. It's been a lot of fun since then. But I think we should introduce ourselves a little bit. So
Okay.
I'm Justin Evans. I grew up in Whitman. Graduated from Whitman Hanson. Left town for a couple of years to go study engineering, and then eventually in 2017 my wife and I got married, moved back to town, and we just bought a house last year. So
Oh, that's
glad to be
really
back.
great. Yeah, and I'm really glad you're here today. I'm really glad you agreed to do this with me. So my name's Erin Johnson. I've lived here for 20 years, almost 21 now. And like I said, I was the founder of the think tank. I started it back in last summer, and I was very happy that there was any response at all. But it was pretty nice, because I think on our second meeting we have about 12 people, which doesn't sound like that many. But online right now we have about 20 people. And we have a few people who don't want to participate online, but still want to participate in the think tank. And like I said, I hope to have good discussions about issues, but also try to help people understand where to go with that, so that if they want to see changes, they know how to do it.
And you're not coming from an area of, you bring knowledge from that area too, because you're involved in the town.
Yeah, right now I'm on the Whitman Cultural Council, and I was just appointed there last month, and I'm really excited about it because it's something that I've always wanted to do. I really like the concept of, I like the concerts that they do, and I've been to a few and I really like them. And now you're on the finance committee, right?
Yes, I am. I've been there since I moved back to town in 2017. I've been through 2 difficult budget cycles, but it's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding.
That's great. And it's kind of pertinent to what we're doing today, because we want to talk about bringing new businesses to Whitman if we can. And I think that's probably something you talk about a little bit on the finance committee.
So it's not something we typically get into in too much detail, but it is a topic that we frequently discuss as we're wrapping up meetings. That the finance committee tends to figure out how we spend our money, not necessarily how we bring more business in, but it's definitely part of the formula.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense that if you're going to talk about money and how to spend it, it's good to find new income streams,
right?
To fund our budget so we can have good programs here.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad you do that. Okay, so when we're talking about new businesses here, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd really like to see a clothing company in this area. I mean, it's nice that you get to order things online and have them delivered right to your doorstep. But it's really nice to be able to just go up the street and buy things, in person,
So I think I'm part of the problem there. I tend to order my clothes from Amazon on the train ride home. So, but
it's convenient that way.
It's convenient,
but I like to actually go there and look at things.
But it would be nice to bring something into town like that.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas about what type of businesses you'd like to see here?
Yeah, so I'd like to see us make it a little bit easier to bring small businesses to town. Something, in 2019, there's not really a good reason why you can't start a business in your home. You've got internet access.
Yeah.
You can do most of it online. And I'd like to see the town maybe facilitate that. It wouldn't necessarily bring revenue in directly, but if those businesses could grow, it would pay dividends in the future.
Right. Yeah, so so in terms of dividends, I mean, it might actually provide employment eventually if that would be great for people here. And depending on what kind of I guess in terms of taxation, would it depend on how large it got, or if they had their own parcel, like their own office, as opposed to working out of their home, or would that make a
so I
difference?
actually can talk about this a little bit with my experience in town government. So in Whitman, our tax rate is the same regardless of whether it's residential or commercial. And we've got such a small revenue stream from commercial buildings that it doesn't make sense to change that. It would have to change a lot to swing either way.
And interesting talking about bringing new businesses to Whitman. I know we just had that vote recently about whether we should have marijuana shops in our town or not, and people pretty much said no. And I don't have a problem with that, but when you consider that Brockton isn't that far away, and they are going to have them, did it really make sense to do that? Because it doesn't change the fact that people may buy as much, they're just not going to buy it here.
Yeah, so the voters of Whitman spoke on that one. And in our 7 square mile area, we're not going to have retail marijuana, but it's a good point that Brockton's not that far away. You can walk 2 miles in any direction and be in another town, so we really didn't prevent all that much.
Yeah, okay.
I did want to talk about a little bit about what I thought we could do to encourage new businesses along the center. So Whitman's really blessed with a walkable town center and commuter rail access. And we're not near a highway. We don't have any of the amenities of the larger towns to the north and the east of us. But with those two things, we're 35 minutes from downtown Boston on the train. And I think that if we were to encourage more development in the stretch of South Ave from the post office down to the commuter rail, we could draw some mixed-use development of retail on the bottom, commercial space on the bottom, and apartments above, sort of similar to the Bostonian shoe apartments that were next door right now.
Yeah, they worked out great, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that would even help us a little bit on the residential side, trying to draw more young people to town. So people who are currently living in South Boston being priced out and looking for the next place to go, but they can still commute to work. I think having train access would really encourage a lot of them, like myself, to move down here.
Yeah, okay. So, and a resource that I think maybe people could use is the mass.gov website. Have you ever gone there just to see?
No, not to look around for small businesses.
Yeah, they have some information there on small businesses and how to start them, and I thought maybe that's a good place for people to start if they're considering it.
It's a good idea. It's a good tip.
But in terms of bringing new businesses here, there are some businesses I don't want to see. And I don't think I want to see. It sounds counterproductive, but I think, for example, I don't necessarily want to see another fast food restaurant, because in light of the fact that people have issues like cholesterol and obesity, maybe we should be a little more concerned about, sustainability when we talk about new businesses.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, Whitman's already got the 3 major fast food chains, so it's probably not too big of a concern now. But I think that, if we could attract, if we were looking at restaurants, more of the fast casual, the Paneras and the Chipotles, things that seem to be booming when other fast food restaurants are struggling, that might make more sense.
Yeah, and they're pretty healthy too, as compared to
they can be. You can also take it in a different direction.
Traditional fast food. Yeah.
You mentioned the mass.gov website. I'd like to see Whitman put a little bit of resources into updating the Whitman website, the Town of Whitman website. It's a little outdated and hard to navigate, and if you were trying to start a business in Whitman, it would be hard to see. I don't think that our zoning map is online. It would be hard to see where you can go. And I know, the schools have a pretty updated website, and the town of Abington does too, so it's not something that should be out of reach.
Right. Yeah, and I think if there was, a link or a page on there that described to potential entrepreneurs what they could gain from, creating a business in Whitman.
I think that's a good idea, like a welcome to Whitman. This is what our town has to offer. If you need to get in touch with, community television to advertise, or the Whitman Express, Whitman Hanson Express. Some good starter links. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so, and I think people will feel more informed about what they can do here.
Yeah.
I had some other little ideas for town to improve town businesses. I thought temp agencies would be a good idea.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
While I was in graduate school, I worked as a contract engineer. So I've dealt with temp agencies.
Yeah, it can be great. Like if you're a stay-at-home mother or something, you might want to work some of the time, but you can't work full-time.
Yeah.
So I think temp agencies can be great, and students, they can't really commit even to the whole summer. Sometimes just a few weeks. But if they have that opportunity to have the agreement from the beginning that it's just going to be temporary, that can work out better for them.
And an office for those agencies really wouldn't take up not much space, not much resources, and kind of like I mentioned earlier with the small businesses, you could run it basically out of a home office.
And I don't know if there's a demand. There's always a demand, it seems, for more doctors and healthcare. That would probably be a good choice too.
Definitely. I think there's a doctor's office up on 18, but I know I drive to Weymouth still because I haven't thought to change my doctor to something closer. It would be nice to see more of that in town.
Yeah.
I think something that we should also do is look to what our neighbors are doing, because it's not always the best idea to try something new to see if it works when we know that there are other towns successfully implementing these kind of strategies nearby. So I know that the city of Brockton is putting a lot of money in revitalizing their downtown area. Sort of similar to what I was saying about what we could do on South Ave, but really utilizing those resources that they have to do kind of transit-oriented development. The idea being that you want more attractive spaces around train access, because that's where people are going to congregate around.
Right. And people do like the train here. I think it's so funny because have you ever seen that train at quitting time at 5 or 6? It's so funny to me.
I'm on it most days.
Because do you run? I mean, people get off that train so fast. It's like, get me home. It's funny as can be. Okay. And do we have, what about, this is kind of, maybe it's not a big deal, but what about parking and things like that? I mean, do we have, a good places for that? I know you mentioned that maybe it's better, to let people take the T and then walk, and have a downtown area that's really built up. But I just wanted to know if that would be a thing that would be an issue for businesses.
It's definitely something to consider. I know that anything near the center of town definitely has the town lot across from McGuigan's, that central space, and we've got street parking up there. Any businesses we draw to Route 18 there's plenty of space. We can find parking there. But the stuff that I was talking about, that may be a challenge, finding places to park around South Ave. Okay.
And just to tell our viewers, to remind you, if you have any comments or anything you'd like to share with us at all, please visit us at our Facebook page, the Whitman Think Tank on Facebook, and leave comments and leave suggestions for new shows. And we'd really love to hear from you.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear what you have for ideas how to bring businesses to Whitman.
Yeah, that's great.
Comment on YouTube.
Because this will be on YouTube too.
Yeah.
So if people want to leave comments specifically about that show, this show would be great too, and we'll probably talk about them on the air sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have I did have one other comment about the websites. So Whitman, we could use a little bit more investment in maintaining our records. It's a little difficult to consider what it takes to really digitize everything that we've been doing in the past. But if you're a business trying to come to Whitman and you don't know what our bylaws are,
right?
Because you'd have to go to town hall to find it, or to find hopefully the town survey that's coming out soon. It's going to get kind of a gauge of where our citizens are. If that's published online, that would help. But if you're a small business owner trying to determine if you want to move to Whitman or some other town, any information you can find would help, and it would be better if the website were navigable.
Right, yeah, you want better.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that survey, and I thought that was the greatest idea, but for the town, because in terms of somebody who wants to talk about things and learn about things more, I like surveys are a great way to figure out what people want to see and want to work on, and what is really an issue for them.
Yeah. I think that was great. If we were to build a Welcome to Whitman packet, what should that include other than contacts for advertising? Is it what kind of town Whitman is?
Yeah. What about demographics? You know,
Demographics
things
would be a good
like
thing to have.
the population, how many males, females, children. You know, how many single-family homes, how many multi-family homes. They might be things for them. Parking. You know, right? Like you said, which areas could actually be built up?
Yeah.
And
where our zoning is, that one that it's just kind of funny. I believe that someone in town hall should have that record, but I can't seem to
I'm
find it
sure.
online. Yeah.
You would think. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about today?
I would just like to remind people first that this. If you have any topics for future conversations for Whitman Think Tank, please find us on Facebook. Send it to Aaron or myself. Comment on YouTube. I'm sure we'll find it there. Or I don't know. If there's a better way to get in touch with us.
No, that's about the
That's probably the best way.
Okay. And I just wanted to thank you for being here with me today. I never could have done it by myself.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Okay, and I'd like to thank all our viewers in Whitman and Hanson. And I hope you will see us again next time, which will probably be in February. And our topic for February, I believe, is going to be creating more transparency, or talking about whether or not there should be more transparency in government, and how we can advocate to make that happen if we think, there should be.
I think it's a great topic, and I think that if any viewers have ideas for that as well, reach out to us, contact us on Facebook.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody.